What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you just a random upload because I feel like it, and this was also a suggestion given to me by Brian Rammah. I apologize if I said that wrong, who's been asking me a couple times to do a Dark Aura Hydreigon deck, and I felt like doing an extra video, so I was like, you know what? Why the heck not? And before I get into the video, just a reminder that if you guys liked it or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys, like these extra random uploads. And there's not really a question of the day because this is just a random because I felt like it upload. But I do have to say, instead of a question of the day, if there are any decks you guys want to see me do, please leave them down in the description below. Now, I can't promise that I will be able to get to them. I just have been lucky enough to have a little extra time right now, which is why I'm able to do this. And also with my very overall busy schedule, I have to plan out what decks I'm going to do in advance. So even if I do decide to do a suggestion, it won't be for a little while. So please don't think that I'm just ignoring you guys. I promise that I am paying attention to every comment and every suggestion, and that I will get to them if I can. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions of decks, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will do what I can to get to them. But like I said, this deck was suggested to me by Brian Rammah and is a legacy deck around the Dark Aura Hydreigon. Now, I thought for a very long time about how I could make this work because, okay, overall, this card is okay. It's very much outclassed by the other Hydreigon, which, I mean, is just kind of almost better in every single way. I mean, it has a better ability, a better attack, and it's, well, I mean, except it's not dragon. Well, I mean, it's not dragon, so it's not hit super effectively by fighting, so it gives a Darkrai Hydreigon deck a little bit more type variety, so that you aren't just destroyed by fighting types. However, I was determined to try to make this guy work, and what I decided to do is do a hybrid Berserker Blade, or a hybrid Dark Aura and Dark Trance Hydreigon deck with Darkrai and Sableye, and it actually works pretty well from what I've tried with it. So on to the actual Pokemon. The deck that the card that he wanted me to do it around was this guy. The ability Dark Aura, all energies attached to this Pokemon are dark type energy instead of their usual type. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a pretty cool ability. It's reminiscent of the base set and evolutions Charizard, where all types are fire instead of their original. And its attack for 4 darkness energy, Berserker Blade, 60, and then 40 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That is actually a pretty sick spread damage attack. Because, I mean, 60 to 1, then 40 to 2, that's really, really cool. It's just its attack cost turns us off so much from it. Now you might be looking at that and be like, well, Sticks, obviously you just put 2 DCEs on it. Yeah, but I mean, in itself, that's not a great idea on its own. I did try it, and it just didn't work as well as I wanted it to. So I decided to just be like, you know what? Dark Aura is good, but I really just kind of need to stick to just a dark center deck and try to get acceleration with like Dark Patch and stuff like that. So that is what I went with. And then for you, those of you that have watched before, you'll recognize that this is just a very similar list to my original Dark Trance Hydreigon deck that I did with Darkrai. Because, I mean, Dark Trance Hydreigon is just so good. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a darkness energy attached to one of your Pokemon to another. So really what I did was I took that list almost exactly. Actually, I kind of copied and pasted. And then I changed a few minor things here and there. I made the Hydreigon line heavier, and then I reduced the line of Darkrai's and Sableyes that we run in the deck. I also got rid of one Virizion and added in Exeggcute, but I will get to why I added in an Exeggcute in a little bit. But as for the Pokemon, I'm just going to go one by one at this point. Darkrai, one of the best Pokemon cards of all time if you look at its influence on the game and its relevance even since it was released in 2012. It is still relevant today in the expanded format. Super, super strong. Dark Cloak gives Dark Pokemon free retreat with the combination of Darkrai and Hydreigon. You move the darkness energy around, give free retreat to whatever you need, and then move them back. And then Night Spear 90 and 30, just the original bench sniper Well, I mean, there were before, but I mean, this guy took it to a whole new level. Just 90 and 30. 90 knocks out all EXs that aren't, well, 2 shots, all EXs that aren't like giant caped or Eviolite boosted. And then 30 to a bench just sets up some very ideal knockouts. Pairing with Darkrai, as always, is Sableye with Junk Hunt. Just gets you stuff that you need early game, can get you what you need late game. Super, super powerful card. And then we are running 4-2-4 line of Dinos, Zweilous, and Hydreigon. I'm using the Dragon Dino. This is actually completely on purpose. I'm not using the Dark Dino because while you can Dark Patch to the Dark Dino gets knocked out in one shot by a Landorus Hammerhead if you start with it. So I just wanted to be like, okay, let's not let Landorus run over us completely and totally. I mean, it's still going to give us a hard time. But this Dragon Dino is kind of like, okay, you're at least not getting any free prizes off of Dino. So we're running 4 of those, 2 of the Dark type Zweilous so that I can Dark Patch onto those, and then 2 of Dark Aura and Dark Trance Hydreigon. I'm also running 1 copy of Virizion with the Verdant Wind ability, and you might be thinking, wait, this is a Dark deck. What the heck does that, what type of synergy does that have? Well, Blend Energy. With Blend Energy, you can see it has Dark typing, but also Grass and Psychic. And then also, the Fire is the only one we're not using. However, I do have a Victini version of this deck that utilizes literally every single type on the Blend Energy, but I'll get to that probably a little bit later. But this type, this energy is so crucial in this deck. First of all, it provides Dark type, which means it can be moved around with Dark Trance. Second of all, it provides the Psychic type, so this Hydreigon can use Dragon Blast with a Blend Energy attached. And finally, it provides the Grass Energy, which allows Verdant Wind to take effect, meaning that Hypnotoxic Laser will not be doing much to us at all if we have a Blend Energy on board. Now, it still can do some stuff if our abilities are shut off or something like that, but in general, Blend Energy and Verdant Wind make a very potent combo. Now, one thing I did notice with this deck was, with the combination of Ultra Ball, Junk Arm, and Computer Search, I was getting down to very, very low hand sizes and having to discard resources far more frequently than I wanted to, and having to discard too many resources in a turn to get a decent setup or something like that. So I decided to throw in a single copy of a Tech Exeggcute. Because Propagation, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put that Pokemon into your hand. I mean, this is super, super strong with the combination of Junk Arm, Ultra Ball, and Computer Search in my deck. Basically, it takes those discard 2 cards and turns them into discard 1 card, which is far more manageable than discard 2 cards. I mean, this is just my opinion, but I did find with this deck I was discarding way too many resources too quickly, so I threw in an Exeggcute, and man, I have not been disappointed at all. This thing has helped out so much with a ton of the math, especially because you can easily search it with Level Ball and just immediately throw into your discard pile with some of your discard options. So again, just my opinion about throwing an Exeggcute in there, but I have not been disappointed with what it has given me. As for the items, 1 Computer Search, 100% use this over anything else because you want that early game setup. You don't necessarily need anything like particularly late game. Yeah, Dowsing Machine can be nice late game, but you want that early game setup because that's where you get your advantage. The quicker you can get set up, the better the deck is going to work, and that's why I'm running Computer Search. Sorry, I bumped my desk right there. 4 copies of Dark Patch to get as much energy into play as possible. In case you haven't noticed, our main attackers are pretty heavy on the energy. Darkrai needs 3, both Hydreigon need 4. Dark Patch is a way to be like, okay, I don't have to wait 3 or 4 turns to attack. I can get multiple energy in play on 1 turn, and all of a sudden, yeah, I have a Darkrai powered up, I have Hydreigon powered up. Come deal with it. 4 Junk Arm to reuse anything that's in our discard pile. This has good synergy with the Darkness Energy because you can discard those into the discard pile and then be able to use them with Dark Patch and also reuse Dark Patch, Max Potion, Rare Candy, all of those things. 1 Level Ball to search out like the Dinos, the Sableye, Zweilous, and Exeggcute. Just a very good search card for early in the game. 1 Lost Remover to kind of slow down our opponent because this deck does require 2 turns to really get going at the very least. So being able to slow down something like a Plasma deck that gets a bunch of energy in play, like through Colress Machines, Ride Knuckles, that type of thing. Lost Remover's like, okay, calm down, buddy. We're going to even this out a little bit. Running 2 Max Potion because of the combination of Dark Trance and Max Potion. Just be able to move all the energy off, Max Potion up something, and then move it all back on. Great, great, great combination. 2, Random Receiver as kind of a... I mean, I've been using 2 of them, and I really do like that number in the deck, just because with Junk Arm, a Junk Arm can turn into a supporter. Random Receiver is like, okay, I mean, it's a pseudo VS Seeker, I'd call it that, but it's not really, because VS Seeker gets from the discard pile while Random Receiver gets it from the deck. But, I mean, still, it turns a Junk Arm into a Random Receiver, and it also, you're allowed to Junk Hunt for it, which is like, okay, I don't have a supporter, Sableye, Junk Hunt, give me a Random Receiver, okay, I have a supporter for next turn. Very, very good card. I highly recommend running it. 3, Rare Candy to go straight from Deino into our Hydreigon, running a heavier line because this deck is more focused on a stage 2, so I want to run more Rare Candy. 1, Tool Scrapper to really just to shut off Garbodor. Like if Garbodor gets a Float Stone, shuts off our abilities, all of a sudden, well, no Dark Cloak, no Dark Trance, no Verdant Wind, no Propagation. Really hurts this deck quite a bit. So Tool Scrapper is like, alright, I get my abilities for 1 turn, let's see what I can do. 3, Ultra Ball, only 3, just because I didn't have room to run 4, I'll be quite honest. But also, you're able to get the Pokemon that you need quite often, I've actually found, with the combination of like Computer Search, Level Ball, Ultra Ball. So you really didn't need to run 4 Ultra Ball in this deck, and if you do need to recycle them, well, you can always Junk Arm. Yeah, that is more resource intensive, but the Exeggcute helps out with that quite a bit. As for these supporters, 2 N, 3 Juniper, and 4 Oak. I would like to run 4 Juniper, but unfortunately this deck has so many things that you don't want to discard early in the game, so I decided to go with a heavier line of Oak and 1 less Juniper, but again, you can't argue with 7 cards. And then I'm also running 1 Skyla, just so I can search out a Rare Candy if I need it, search out a Dark Patch. There's just so many things that Skyla can search out that help out quite a bit, so I decided to throw a single copy of Skyla in there. And then as for the energy, 4 Blend and 7 Darkness. Blend, we want to run as many as possible because we want to take advantage of Dragon Blast and Verdant Wind, but also we want the regular Darkness to be able to Dark Patch and not have them Enhanced Hammered or Lost Removered away. But anyway, I've talked for way too long. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against FGA 169 with a Dragon and normal deck, so this is probably a fluffy Chomp deck. We do lose the coin flip, very unfortunate. I mean, yeah, we will be able to Junk Hunt, or we can Junk Hunt first turn, but okay, I start with... Okay, this is interesting. So, okay, yeah, this is definitely fluffy Chomp, but I start with a bunch of things that I'd like on, like, turn 2 or turn 3, but not turn 1. Okay, don't get me wrong. Turn 1 Computer Search is always nice. We will get a Mulligan card. Let's see what I get. I get a Darkrai. Yeah, let's go ahead and send that guy out just because, I mean, couldn't hurt. And also I want to have that down just so I can have Free Retreat later in the game. My opponent does try to catcher me out. Is he going to get heads? Of course he is. So, yeah, there's the Darkrai. And so what I am going to do right here, I get a Random Receiver because my opponent did not play a supporter, so I don't want to end him. Now I do get an Oak's New Theory, so that is phenomenal. What I am going to do is get rid of my Zweilous and my Darkness Energy, probably grab a Dark Patch. That way, if I draw into one off of the Oak, I can manually attach it onto my Darkrai, retreat into my Sableye, and then Junk Hunt to get a Dark Patch and a Computer Search. Unfortunately, I don't draw into a Darkness. So very unfortunate turn right there. I will just leave my Darkrai up there to take a hit. On the bright side, as long as my opponent doesn't disrupt my hand, I will be able to get a Hydreigon turn 1. However, I think I'm going to go for the Dark Trance immediately, just because that one is going to be immensely useful in this matchup, as Fluffy Chomp would not be able to one-hit KO me. In fact, they'd have to have 3 Alterias and then a Silver Bangle boosted Dragon Blade in order to knock out a Darkrai in one hit. So, that being said, Dark Trance Hydreigon is going to buy me more time to get my Dark Aura Hydreigon set up to where I will be able to just keep healing up my Darkrai's or my whatever attackers I go for and just keep sniping things on the bench. So, in a pretty good position turn 1. I mean, my opponent is going to get a couple Dragon Calls up turn 1, which is good for them, but they still haven't played a supporter, which is very, very nice and very fortunate for me. We see him just grabbing another Gibble, so honestly, like, my opponent's just not in a good position at all. And, okay, does just grab a, play the Fighting, Dragon Slice, do 50 damage to me, and that's not too big of a deal, because what I can do, go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Exeggcute and a Rare Candy, grab my Dark Trance Hydreigon. I will get the Dark Aura Hydreigon later if I'm able to get that thing going, and yeah, let's go ahead and get that up. Let's play the Juniper to get a fresh hand of 7 cards, and, so I actually think I'm gonna be able to get a Night Spear off this turn, but I have to be careful with how I play this. So let's go ahead and Junk Arm. I think I have to Junk Arm for the Dark Patch. Yeah, let's go ahead. Actually, I mean, I'm gonna have to grab the Computer Search anyway. Okay, so I have 2 Junk Arms. I have 2 Dark Patches. And I have a Computer Search. So it's Computer Search for just a regular Darkness Energy. That way I can manually attach onto my Darkrai and be able to Night Spear. So yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of all of those. This is why I'm so glad I have the single copy of Exeggcute in my deck. Just because, I mean, otherwise I would not be able to make this play, or I'd have to deplete literally my entire hand in order to pull this play off. But because of that one Exeggcute, I'm able to use 2 Junk Arms and a Computer Search and essentially only discard 3 cards from my hand overall. So that way I can still hold on to the Max Potion, and I can still hold on to the Oak's New Theory. Okay, do I want a Max Potion yet? Because a Mach Cut, even with a Silver Bangle, will only be doing 90. I don't think there's really any way my opponent can knock me out next turn, so I'm going to hold on to the Max Potion in case my opponent does happen to get a Garchomp up next turn. Let's just go ahead and Dark Trance, and my energy turned into fire again. What is this? But I'm going to Dark Trance up to my Darkrai, and then Night Spear, knock out my opponent's Gabite with the 2 energy and the Silver Bangle, and then start sniping down my opponent's other Gabite on the bench. That way I can potentially get the Garchomp in range of being knocked out by 2 Night Spears plus a, 2 Night Spear bench damages plus a Night Spear, but I guess my opponent is just going to search for the... Yeah, he's just going to search for the Dragon Call, and then he's probably going to Dragon Call for the Garchomp. So, I mean, really just kind of a overall wasted turn, but not necessarily. I mean, I probably should have put it on the Gibble, but I don't know. I stand by my play. Either way, it was just kind of a crapshoot as to which one my opponent was going to go for. I mean, yeah, hindsight 2020, it was probably like, okay, Stixie's obviously going to go for the Garchomp, but okay. So I have all this on board. Because I'm going to Oak this turn, I'm going to go ahead and play my Max Potion. That way it's in my discard pile and available to be Junk Armed for later in the game. Let's Max Potion up the Darkrai. And then I'm just going to go ahead and Oak before I play everything else out. Might as well see what I've gotten. Okay. So I got a whole lot of nothing. Wow, I wish I had another, like, Deino up or something like that, because I'd be able to get my Dark Aura Hydreigon up. But either way, I mean, I'm just going to be able to continuously Night Spear. And this is the power of Darkrai, just being able to Night Spear every single turn. Night Spear frequently. If my opponent's able to Mach Cut me, I'm able to heal off that damage by moving all of the energy off, Max Potioning, and going from there. And yeah, I mean, the bench sniping is going to be enough to set up my opponent's other Garchomps to be one-shotted by a Night Spear. And yeah, I mean, I'm in a very, very phenomenal position. And worst case scenario, if my opponent does get a Garchomp that gets out of hand, I can always just send up my Dark Trance Hydreigon and then just Dragon Blast for, I think it'd be 240 because it's weak to Dragon. Although I would have to be careful because then my opponent's Garchomp would be able to one-shot me back with... Actually, no, a Mach Cut would not be able to one-shot me back. A Mach Cut with an Altaria in play would be able to one-shot me back. So I do even get a Virizion. And let's see, Okay, I'm just going to play the Virizion down. That way, just in case my opponent happens to be playing Laser or something like that, all I have to do is just move one of the blend energies to the Darkrai and then move it off. Really would like to be using the Dragon or Hydreigon right now, but I mean the Dark Trance was 100% the better play to start out with, and unfortunately I just did not draw into stuff that would lead me to be able to get another Hydreigon setup. I do get an N, and I mean I could go for it to try to get the Dark or a Hydreigon set up, but I think that would be... I think that would just be a horrible play because it'd give my opponent a fresh hand when he's shown that he doesn't have anything. And, I mean, while, yes, this is a deck centered around Dark or Hydreigon, I don't want to sacrifice the game just to try to get that thing going. If I have the game pretty well locked up later, then I would go for it. But considering that was only my second prize taken, like, if I had 2 prizes left at this point, then I definitely would have just been like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. Let's just play down the Deino, play and try to get a Dark or Hydreigon up and attacking. But at this point, it is much better to just get energy in play each turn. I've been able to manually attach. That way I have it on board. And, I mean, I'm just, yeah, hold on to my resources and conserve them for just in case my opponent has a ridiculous turn where he's just able to blow up and go off in one turn. So my opponent does get a Twins, is going to get a Fighting Energy for a Mock Cut. I'm wondering what my opponent grabbed for next turn because, okay, my opponent apparently did not see that I'm just going to be able to win the game at this point. So let's just play the Deino down just because, and then Night Spear, knock out the Garchomp and the Gibble on the bench to win the game, drawn to another Dark Patch. And yeah, so that's the first game with this deck. I mean, I really would have liked to have used Dark or Hydreigon. I think it could have done a good amount of work in this matchup. However, I just did not draw the cards conducive to getting it set up, and when I did, it was much more in my interest to get a Dark Trance Hydreigon set up. So yeah, unfortunate that we weren't able to get that thing going, but I mean, still, this deck is very powerful with just the Darkrai Hydreigon part. But you know what? Let's find another one, see if we can get a Dark Aura Hydreigon to do some work. Alrighty, we found another one against Akrim with a, I think it's Akrim, with a Water deck. So I'm kind of curious to see what my opponent is running. Akrim 85, my bad, I completely screwed up your name, I forgot about the 85. But with a very cool Steelix coin, we do win the coin flip, meaning we will get to go first. So that is always a very nice thing. We start off with, oh boy, ouch. So we start off with a bunch of supporters and a bunch of ways of discarding them, which is not a good thing to start off with. Oh man. So I'm gonna have to play this smart to just not discard all of my supporters immediately. I mean, to be fair, I still have a Juniper and 4 Oaks in the deck, so I have enough supporters for the rest of the game. But it's one of those things where you're just like, well, I discarded 5 supporters in my first turn. I consider that a win. I will get a mulligan card. I get a blend energy, so, well, I get even more ways of discarding my supporters, so that's always nice. What I am going to do is go ahead and computer search, get rid of the N and the Juniper, probably. Do I want to just get rid of those? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's just grab a... What do I want to grab? You know what? Let's go ahead and grab a Level Ball. That way I can search out the... Actually, wait. How do I want... Okay, so what do I want to do with this first turn? I'm very conflicted. So I think Skyla is going to be my supporter for the first turn. Okay, let's see. I've got those in my deck. What do I want to grab? I think what I want to grab is... Just grab... Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, you know what? Let's just grab a Random Receiver. That way I can at least have that in my discard pile to act as a pseudo VS Seeker to be able to get Pokemon into my discard pile. Or to be able to just Junk Arm for essentially a supporter. And then I am going to Junk Arm for that Level Ball to grab a Deino. That way I can have that guy, try to get that guy up turn 2. And yeah, just end my turn right there. So overall, I mean, while it looked like a very resource-intensive first turn, which, okay, it was, I was still able to get my Exeggcute in the discard pile, I was able to get a Random Receiver in the discard pile, and I was able to get a Deino up with an energy. So overall, I'd say that that was a pretty decent first turn. I mean, I couldn't have Junk Armed anyway, so getting up a Sableye would have just delayed me being able to get a Deino even, or get a Hydreigon even longer. My opponent does play the Rock Guard. That thing is going to be annoying, and I'm gonna have to Tool Scrapper away that, because that's, oh boy. Well, we see the Squirtle, so this is a Blastoise deck, and that's not good. It's very not good. Get another Blend Energy, that is fine. I mean, yeah, Kyurem's ability allows you to discard, allows you to, or not ability, Kyurem's attack allows you to discard any a special energy. But what I can do right now is go ahead and put this Exeggcute back into my hand. And you know what? It might have seemed random that I put the Exeggcute in my deck, but man, that thing is paying off so ridiculously hard. Like, that's, it is really kind of awesome to see that a card that I was kind of torn on, that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw this in there because it makes a lot of sense in this deck. It's awesome that it's putting in so much work. So what I am going to do is just go ahead and bring in Sableye and then Junk Hunt. Try to get more setup. I was able to get a turn 2 Hydreigon, which is phenomenal. And I'm just going to grab a Computer Search and Random Receiver, I think. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Because what I can do next turn is go ahead and... So, depending on what I draw. So, if it's something I can discard, I can Exeggcute back into my hand, Computer Search, discard what I drew and the Exeggcute to grab a Darkness Energy. And then... Actually, no, I don't even need to discard what I draw, because even with this hand, what I can do is Exeggcute, Computer Search, get rid of the Darkrai, and the Exeggcute to grab a Darkness Energy, bring the Exeggcute back in, Junk Arm, get rid of the Darkness, and the Exeggcute to grab... what do I mean, I could just grab probably another Level Ball to get another Deino out, and then I can Dark Patch onto my Darkrai to be able to... Dark Patch onto my Darkrai to get another energy on board, and then Random Receiver, get an Oak or a Juniper, and then just play it, and then just, yeah, get a new hand. So, very, very nice hand that I have right here. My opponent luckily just had to manually attach, doesn't seem to be able to get a Blastoise up, but he does Skyla for a Hypnotoxic Laser, and here's why I'm glad I run Virizion in the deck. So he does put me to sleep, I wake up, it's not a big deal, because I'd be able to get a Virizion anyway, and I top deck the Oak. So that's nice. What I'm going to go ahead and do right here is propagate with my Exeggcute, get rid of the Random Receiver and the Exeggcute to grab that Dark Energy like I said I was going to, and then let's Exeggcute once again. This way I don't have to get rid of the Darkrai, which is kind of nice. I might play that guy down, but I also might not. Then Junk Arm to grab the Level Ball, I think. I mean, I could grab a Virizion, but... I mean, I could have grabbed the Ultra Ball and then discarded the Darkrai to grab a Virizion. But I think let's just go ahead and get another Deino in play, because now that my opponent has a Wartortle up, I mean, Dark Aura Hydreigon is still going to be able to do some work. So I am just going to put that Darkrai back into my deck, and I probably just draw right back into it. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, let's go ahead and Exeggcute, because I drew into an Ultra Ball. I might as well try to get... I might as well get that Virizion out, so that I can just be able to move energy around to get rid of special conditions on my Pokemon. 2 Dark Aura Hydreigons are still in the deck, 2 Zweilous as well. So let's just grab that Virizion, play that down, and then, I mean, that immediately gets rid of the status on Sableye. So I am going to play the regular Dark onto Sableye, because I am going to go ahead and Dark Trance, get that Blend Energy off of my Sableye, play it onto the Virizion, because this Sableye, all my opponent needs is just a single other energy to be able to knock me out next turn, and also he would be able to discard a special energy. So I don't want to lose I don't want my Blind Energy to be off the board because I can always just Dark Patch the energy attached to the Sableye back onto one of my Pokemon. And even though they can get Enhanced Hammered or Lost Zoned away, I'd rather have the Blend Energy on board just because Blastoise is not known for running those type of running that type of disruption in the deck, especially if you're running Laser, because you don't have room for it. My opponent does grab 2 Keldeo and a Suicune, so if I'm able to get a Dark Aura Hydreigon up, I'm going to be in a phenomenal spot. Just because, I mean, it'll be able to two-shot the Suicune. I won't have to discard any energy, because one way of getting rid of Suicune is to Dragon Blast. I would rather not have to do that, just because, I mean, obviously I don't want to have to discard energy just to take out a Suicune, which really isn't too big of a threat otherwise. I would rather just attack with a... I'd rather just Dark Aura and then spread 40 damage elsewhere. So let's go ahead and propagate the Exeggcute back into my hand. Once again, I top deck a supporter, so getting that Random Receiver was kind of useless. But, I mean, hey, at least it's, like, still discard fodder, so that is pretty nice. At this point, I'm going to grab that Tool Scrapper, that Rock Guard. I mean, I'm at a point now where I'm about to start attacking, and that Rock Guard is going to be incredibly annoying. So I am just going to get rid of that, and then Oak, get a new hand, see if I can get something to work with, and I definitely do. So what I could do right here is I could Junk Arm for a Rare Candy, and then get a Dark Aura Hydreigon. But I don't think that that's the play right now. I think that the best play is to try to get as much energy on board as I can to try to knock out, well, to try to, like, start just damaging the Keldeos, sniping up the Wartortles, that type of thing. So I am just going to Junk Arm for the Dark Patch, get another energy on board. So I have 5 energy now. My opponent will not be able to one-shot me next turn with any attack that Kyurem goes for. I mean, heck, even the big attack that he has does 120. That's all it will do. And then, worst case scenario, I just switch into my Darkrai that's on the bench, move all the energy to it, and then start attacking with that Darkrai. So luckily, my opponent hasn't been able to get much of anything going. I mean, he's played one supporter, and I think that's a Pokemon Collector. But he does have 2 Keldeos down. He has a Wartortle that can go into a Blastoise at any point. He has a Suicune that he's starting to power up as well. He does have a Skyla, too. So that thing, I mean, he's probably going to grab a supporter with the Skyla, or he just grabs a Heavy Ball. Okay, so I honestly think that that is a very, very poor choice by my opponent, because he's doing very, like, short-sighted. Oh, in my opinion, he's doing very short-sighted plays. Because, like, with the Hypnotoxic Laser, that Skyla ended up getting him 10 damage. Well, actually, he's played 3 supporters. What am I saying? That Skyla that he did for the Hypnotoxic Laser just netted him 10 damage instead of getting him a supporter that he could have used for the next turn. The Skyla right there, yes, it gets a Blastoise into play, but if you don't have any energy, then what's the point of having a Blastoise in play? Because, I mean, I would have rather have grabbed a Juniper, and if my opponent knocked out my Blastoise, well, at least I had something going. I had a Suicune that would be able to potentially stall for a turn. Yeah, I do have a Dragon Blast Hydreigon on the board, which would be able to one-shot the Suicune, but I mean, that's beside the point. Either way, right here, I am just going to Night Spear, knock out my opponent's Kyurem, and get more damage onto that Blastoise. Put it in range of 2 Berserker Blades from Hydreigon, or at least I think it is. Is it in range? Ooh, I draw Zweilous. So guys, if my opponent doesn't scoop this next turn, I will be able to get a Dark Aura Hydreigon into play and attack with it. So it is in range of 2 right now, but I think hold on. Do I want to start damaging the Keldeos, put them in range of Dragon Blast? And I think the best play is to just keep sniping down that Blastoise, just in case my opponent happens to top deck like a Juniper or something like that. where he's able to get a ton of energy in play. I want to have that Blastoise in range of being knocked out by a Night Spear or a Berserker Blade. I just want to set that up completely. But guys, we are about to be attacking with a Dark Aura Hydreigon. Let's Berserker Blade, set up the Suicune for a knockout next turn, get 40 onto the Blastoise, 40 onto a Keldeo, and set that Blastoise to be knocked out by a Berserker Blade next turn. My opponent attached to the Suicune. That's not a big deal at all. We are going to knock that sucker out this turn. I'm just going to get even more energy on board. I could Juniper, but I think I'm just going to hold on to the blend energy that I have in my hand. And then do I want to set up... No, I'm going to set up the Keldeo to be in range of a Night Spear. That way I can just one-shot it with Night Spear later. Actually, you know what? I messed that up. I should have put 40 damage onto the other Keldeo to put both of them in range of a Dragon Burst. So, or not Dragon Burst, whatever. But either way, put them in range of my Dark Trance Hydreigon so that I would be able to just Dragon Blast. There we go. Just be able to Dragon Blast them for the knockout no matter which Keldeo my opponent set up. But I mean, either way, my opponent does forfeit because he just didn't have anything going. And like I said, I think those short-sighted Keldeos, or short-sighted Skylas, really did come to bite him, because while he did get a benefit in each turn from the Skyla, he did not benefit in the future. I think he just should have grabbed a draw supporter off of those and then waited for the next turn. But either way, you guys did get to see Dark Aura Hydreigon come through and do some very, very solid damage to my opponent's team and actually kind of sort of win me the game, and at the very least set me up in a position to where I had the easy win. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Sorry this took me so long to put out, but either way, this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.